Alright, welcome back to the Roadside Rescue YouTube channel. I'm Ernest. We're going to take a look at this car today. It's a pre-purchase inspection. It says in depth as we get. It's the most expensive inspection. And so sometimes you'll see that an inspection that I do isn't quite as in depth as this one's going to be. And it all just depends on the price. These people are paying the most for it. And they're going to get a good in-depth inspection. We're going to look over everything suspension-wise, jack it up, check everything out, and do a compression test and look at everything we can on this vehicle to give them an idea of what kind of condition it's in. It's a pretty new Toyota Camry. Should last forever. Toyota Corolla. I thought it was a Camry for some reason. Okay, first thing I do is I just start it up, listen to it, make sure it doesn't have a misfire, so we'll feel that. Feels like it's running good. And then I'll look at the dash, no check engine light is on. So we're gonna plug up the computer, we'll turn it off, and pull up some data on this vehicle, make sure it's ready to pass emissions. This can tell me here. I can't do emissions testing with this, and you know, but it'll tell me if it's ready to pass or not. So we'll do that real quick and see if there's anything else. Maybe we'll turn it on and look at the live data. So we'll unplug their insurance there. It's probably insurance, maybe just one of those make your car go faster chips. Those don't work though. Okay, keys in the on position. Let's just make sure there's no data trouble codes on this. But the check engine light isn't on. Some of these, sometimes they'll have some stored that don't trip the check engine light. And you can get a more in-depth scanner that'll scan all the computer systems. This Topdon ArtLink 600 scan tool, super nice. And I've got a deal for everybody. If you want to get one of your own, then we'll talk about that in a second. Okay, no fault codes on this computer, so that's fine. Let's go ahead and start it up and look at the live data. It's going to take a minute to go through, but I don't expect to find anything out of the normal. Okay, we've got the emissions readiness pulled up, and that's ready to pass emissions. You can see there. So let's pop the hood and head up front. Alright, I hate it when these little hood prop bushings fall out and then your hood prop just like wiggles around like it's not supposed to, so I'm going to try and just get this back into place as best I can here. Looks like it's gone in front of that, and hopefully that kind of stays put. You can order some of these, but I don't have any on me. So that's good. That's good. Let's remove the beauty cover here. Alright, pointless piece of plastic there, and we'll take a look at the engine here. Alright, so looking at this OBD2, this is our ArtLink 600 from Topdon. Before we get looking at the engine over here, super nice OBD2 scanner, especially for the entry-level mechanic. We've given away one of these in a different video, so I'll put the link at the top right here. You can click on that if you want to try and win one of these for free. But there will be a link at the top of the description for this tool. The original price is $109, but I got a 20% off code, which is all 600 code. And that's plus a $10 coupon, so you can pay $77.20 for this. So that code will be at the top of the description as well. It's only going to last like a week, so check that out if you want to get this for 77 bucks. That's a super good deal, and this is a really nice scan tool. I like it. This is the one I've been using right now, just doing smaller jobs like this. So super nice tool and real easy to use. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is just kind of look over this engine bay here. I'm going to address real quick. There's a lot of sludge around here, but it looks like it's contained to the oil fill area. Obviously it's not going to be leaking out from anything higher than this, as long as there's not a crack in this valve cover. And so it looks like it's just been overfilled, kind of spilled around as the engine oil was topped off, and it doesn't go away, as you know. It just kind of builds up gunk there, so that looks fine. Looking at variable valve timing solenoids and stuff like that, there's no leaks around any of these seals. There's no leaks on the outside of any of these spark plug tube seals, and everything up here looks fine. There's a bit of questionable oil leakage around this valve cover, but based on the fact that it's dry over here and dry over here, but not right here, it leads me to believe that that's just spill down from this oil fill cap. So the valve cover gasket looks like it's in good shape. I'll check it out from behind as well, but I'll have to use my flashlight, and I'm not going to be able to fit the camera down here in this gap, so I'll let you know what it looks like. And I'm going to pull these spark plugs. We'll check out the spark plugs and do a compression test on this engine, as well as we look everything over here. Okay, so I'm going to check for oil in these as well, which is a sign of those tube seals leaking. And that one's clean. I'm expecting them to all be clean, and then that would be a good indicator that these coil packs are good. These boots I don't believe are serviceable on this coil here, so if you do run into issues with that where you get oil down in there, it'll swell up this rubber, you'll have to replace the whole coil, so you want to catch that sooner than later. Okay, those are all clean. Alright, more and more cars nowadays are using these 14mm spark plugs, so I've got my 14mm spark plug wrench here with me. And, we'll use that to remove this spark plug here. Just use my little electric wrench here as a normal wrench, and we'll get that out and check it out. Alright, so we're looking at what's most likely here Denso. These are probably original spark plugs. Let's see what we got here. Iridium. So these have a 15-year life. Honestly, don't even know the year of this vehicle, so we'll look at that. But if these are getting close to 15 years, then we can recommend they replace these. Nothing too crazy, just quite old. So let's do a compression test on this as well while we have these out. And that's why I took all those coil packs out, so I don't get it running before I finish that compression test. All right, we'll hook this up and we'll crank the engine over about 5-7 times to see how that compression builds up. And I might do that so I can watch it. I'll just do this so you can watch it, and then I'll come check it. Okay. A little on the low end, 90 psi, so let's check the other cylinders and see how those do. See if you can see that, and let's check it out. About the same place, that's right at 90, so that may be common for these engines. 90 is fine anyways. I've seen a lot of vehicles with 90 that run just great for a long time, so nothing that would concern me there. If it was lower, then I'd be concerned, but that looks just about right anyways. So put that spark plug back in. You can smell that fuel from all that cranking. Learned recently in a recent video I did that Toyota's fuel pumps only turn on while they're cranking. So okay, as we put these coil packs back, one of the gaskets stayed behind, so I'm just going to make sure I put this one in the correct spot. Put some silicone on this rubber to make sure it stays nice and well, doesn't dry rot over the years. And we'll put that back in there. We'll put some in the connectors as well to waterproof those and help prohibit corrosion. Okay, we'll make sure this starts and runs well, and then we'll finish checking everything up here before I put, you know, that's already back together. It's not like there's too much above that, but just make sure that I didn't cause a misfire. Alright, so obviously it was real rich from that cranking on those compression tests, so that we got all that fuel burned off. It's running fine now. I'm going to go ahead, look at this serpentine belt. It doesn't look too worn, so let's look at the ribs on the underside and see how worn they are, if they've got any dry rot on those. And there's plenty of life left in that belt. No dry rotting, and there's the ribs are almost completely all there, so that's going to be a hard angle to see. My only other concern, which isn't a reliability issue, is just the amount of leaves and stuff here, and it's quite dirty over here. And you know we're going to have to clean these battery terminals. They're a bit dirty, so I'm going to put some cleaner on this, and I probably won't worry about any of this, but interesting to note that this side particularly is dirty. All the hoses here look like they're in good shape. No dry rotting on any of these coolant hoses. Nothing around here on this boot for the intake. These ones, especially the crankcase ventilation ones, the crankcase is quite warm. They'll get really dry rotted before anything else, so you want to look for cracks in these, especially up here by the valve cover, but this looks fine, in good shape. I'm going to give this one particularly a spray of silicone spray just to make sure that it doesn't dry rot on us here in the near future, and maybe just spray all this plastic as well, just to kind of give it all a bit of protection here. That other coolant hose looks good. The cooling fan spins well, no bearing issues there. Everything other than that looks fine. All the wiring's good, nothing's old and crackled, so it looks like it's in pretty good shape. Could use a cleaning from this oil, but I'm not going to do that today. And everything else here is just a visual inspection if it looks good or not. All the connectors are good. On this alternator here, everything's tight. Everything looks like it's in place, so we'll move to underneath the vehicle suspension wise here and take a look at how everything looks, but everything up here looks great. Last thing is just checking the coolant level, power steering level, windshield washer fluid's a little low, brake fluid looks good. Everything looks good except that windshield washer fluid's low. I don't have any of that fluid with me, so we'll leave that up to the customer or the owners of this vehicle if they ever want to refill that. Alright, so we'll go ahead and jack this up here. We'll do this on all four corners and look at tire wear, make sure that the alignment and everything looks good in camber, and we'll look at brake pads, everything else. I'll talk about it when we get under there, so let's pick this up and just poke our head back there and look at everything suspension wise, how that looks, and the bearing as well. All we got to do is get this tire off the ground, and that's good. So we'll wiggle this tire in different directions, side side and up down. If there's any movement, that's a bearing, could be a bearing issue or tie rods. The tires are dry rotted just on this outside corner here with some crackling, so let's look at the year on these. 2014, so these are 7-8 years old. So these probably would need to be replaced. I'll bring that up with the customer. You've got some wear on the outside edge here, so if you run into some water, that could be an issue. Alignment as well, because there's plenty of tread on the backside. As for tread depth, we're right at probably 230 seconds, right over at probably about 330 seconds. So we're at the end of the tire life on these, and I'm definitely going to recommend that they get these replaced based off the age and the amount of little bit of dry rot crackling around here, and the uneven wear should probably get in alignment as well. We lost the boot on the strut up here. That's not the end of the world as long as it still works. Something that should be taken into consideration in the future for getting a suspension worked on. Well, brake pads are pretty much brand new. Rotors look good as well. No unusual wear on the front or the back of those. A little bit of a lip on the back, but nothing unusual. Okay, the axle boot's good. No leakage on any of the brake lines, calipers, anything like that. The wire for the sensor's in place. Yeah, lower control arm bushing's good. Lower ball joint's good. Inner and outer tie rod joint looks great. And sway bar end link boots look good as well. Let's see if any of those are loose. Typically, I can't move that. Typically, if you can grab the tie rod end and the sway bar end link and wiggle it by hand, it's too loose, and you should think about replacing those. So no big deal there. Let's make sure all the tires have their correct air, and we don't want to overlook the spare. Let's go check the driver's side door for how much PSI needs to be in each tire. Okay, 32 in all the tires and 60 in the spare. They all look pretty good. Pressure wise, just doing a visual, then none of them look low, so put this on here. And that just needed a touch to get to 32, so we're good there. Let's check all the other ones. All right, the spare tire is flat, so it's a good thing we checked. I'm gonna go ahead and fill it up. It's got about 20 PSI in it, it feels like. This will probably be the last pre-inspection video I do on a vehicle for a while, but I've said this in the recent videos I've done on pre-inspections and trip inspections. This is the most overlooked thing on any vehicle, is the spare tire air pressure. So You want to make sure you check that before a trip. So what are you going to do? You get a flat tire, you throw your spare on there and it's flat as well. You can't, you've lost your spare. So let's see what it says. Yep, 20 psi. Alright, last thing we're going to do is just check the lights on the vehicle. My trick for checking both headlights, turn signals, is just putting on the hazards, so you don't have to put on the left side, get out, then put on the right side and get out and look at both. Put on the hazards, walk around and make sure all four are going. Alright, everything looks great now. We've got all those airs topped off, all those tires topped off. Everything else looked great. I mean, it's a pretty new Corolla, so what do you expect? That's the job well done, inspection well done. If there's anything you'd have done different, leave it in the comments down below. Maybe I'll address that in a different video. Have any questions, leave them down below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next episode of Roadside Rescue.